What is up, everybody? We are here. We're talking about UFC Vegas 29, the Korean Zombie versus Dan Ige in that main event. Guys, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. New here. We're going to go through the entire card. I'm going to give you guys my predictions. Tell you why. Last week, it was really just a couple of days ago, depending on when you're watching this. UFC 263. Predictions for that card, pretty decent. 9-5 record. Betting wise, a good amount of the bets did really well. But fortunately, we did lose a couple of Jamal Hill. Man, his arm got snapped badly. Thankfully, news came out. I know if you guys were watching the fight companion for that, you guys saw I was pretty upset. He was badly hurt in that fight. His arm was snapped, and the referee was absolutely incompetent. That was terrible. Appreciate everybody tuning in live. You're tuning in on the replay. Love you too. Goal for this video, as we know, the full card predictions, we like to get a lot of likes, so we need that 100 likes in here. I appreciate all you guys who are watching. Shout out everybody in the live chat right now. We're going to have a ton of action throughout this entire card, and there's so many fun matchups to talk about. We'll start it off all the way down low at the bottom. Let's bring it down. Here we go. First fight on the card. It's Matthew Selmesberger versus Chaos Williams. So if you guys remember Chaos Williams emerging on the scene, he looked like the next big thing. Incredible knockout powers, dropping Morono and Abdul Razak Al Hassan in one punch. He had back-to-back quick knockouts. The problem when you have results like that is you don't see the entire skill set. And granted, I was very high on him. He then goes in and fights Michel Pereira. Not a terrible fight. You know, he's definitely not a bad fighter. Loses that fight, though. Clearly lost a decision. On the other side, Matthew Selmesberger. I guess they call him the Semi-Jedi. What an interesting nickname for him there. Selmesberger, in his UFC debut, on short notice, beat Carlton Manas, who's not a bad fighter. He outstruck him, the better man. He had the better cardio, and on short notice, he showed a decent skill set. Didn't get the finish, but still, good performance, gets himself into the UFC. He then destroys Jason Witt in just one touch. It was a quick 15-second knockout in the last one. Stylistically, this matchup here, I'm excited to see what Chaos Williams can truly do. I want to see more of him, but this is no easy matchup. You look at the side of Selmesberger, I mean, at the end of the day, he has a pressuring style with a well-rounded skill set. Chaos Williams, I don't think he's a one-trick pony. He's definitely decent everywhere. I don't know how world-class the man is. I know he has serious power, and serious power does go a long way. At loss to Pereira was tough, but I think he still has a good amount of potential. At minus 170, the odds they get me a bit nervous just because we still don't know a ton about Chaos Williams, and Selmesberger is a damn fun prospect. Let's quickly pull up the odds officially just because we're looking at that Tapology odds there. They're not always the most accurate. So minus 170, plus 150, Selmesberger versus Williams. I really believe this is a pick'ems matchup. I don't necessarily think the odds should be wide towards either guy, and I think as the week goes on, money will probably hit both sides. Some props out there that have been released so far, the inside the distance plays, Selmesberger inside the distance, definitely a lot bigger of a favorite. For me, I think Matthew Selmesberger, if he were to win, is the decision victor. He's proved he can win by a decision. Chaos Williams, a guy that wants that knockout, and he has that power. Now, if you look at the stance of Selmesberger, I do think there's straight shots that can land, and Chaos Williams has dynamite in the hands. But can he land that shot? He has gone the distance in the past. I mean, you look before he got into the UFC, decision win against Jeremy Holloway. Look on the other side, Matthew Selmesberger, good amount of knockouts, but has gone the distance as well. One of the hardest matchups for me to call on this card. Betting-wise, I will lean towards the dog or pass. And I really got to say, I have a strange inkling that Matthew Selmesberger by a 29-28 decision. That is the prediction for this one. I want to see them face off. This pick could definitely change as the week goes on. If you can find like the good plus money for Selmesberger, you can go for it here. If you find it, plus 150 is not bad for a straight bet. I think that Selmesberger can find a way to win. I think fight probably goes the distance. I don't see Chaos Williams having that one-touch success like he had against previous opponents. He's good. He can strike. But matchup-wise, I got to give Matthew Selmesberger the due respect. I think he pulls it off, guys. I think the dog in this one. We'll see it as they face off. We'll see on the scales if anything changes. But I could see Selmesberger itching him out just by a bit because matchup so competitive. So many competitive matchups throughout this entire card, and that just makes for a ton of fun. Betting-wise, though, you have to be very careful on this card because there's so many competitive fights. Joaquin Silva versus Ricky Glenn. He comes back. Glenn hasn't fought in a long time. Neither has Joaquin Silva. Last fight, Rick Glenn loses. That fight was about 2.5 years ago now. Let's check. To Kevin Aguilar. Not all that great and definitely on the decline, but that was the better Aguilar. Still, Glenn didn't look extremely fast in that fight. He's a southpaw with that kickboxing style, and he's more of a volume striker, not a ton of power. Does have a decent head kick from range, but has shown to be hittable with punches. And Joaquin Silva, high style of striking. He's pretty good with the stand-up. He's explosive. He has some really nice kicks, and he does manage range decently with that lead hand. Granted, he's at a height disadvantage, but he doesn't have a significant reach disadvantage. Joaquin Silva, I believe, finds a way to beat Rick Glenn. I think he lands a punch on the chin and puts him down. Glenn up to the lightweight division after previously being down at 145. You see that 148.5 weigh-in for the last fight. Granted, that was some years ago. The time off could hurt Glenn. On the other side, Joaquin Silva, that was a fight against Nasrat Hakparas that he lost. But Nasrat is a very, very good fighter. I do believe Joaquin Silva in this matchup knocks out Rick Glenn. Odds pretty much pick'ems here. We'll check if there's any props out there that have some value as of right now. Minus 115, minus 105. So good thing about talking about the bets potentially before the props drop. Maybe you put a Rick Glenn knockout, or excuse me, a Joaquin Silva knockout win down for a prop if it's at something crazy. Plus 600 or more, I'd play it. But if not, maybe you'd skip it. As far as right now, the inside the distance plays are there. Silva's expected to win the fight. He's the minus 115 favorite. Odds very close, though. Pick'em's fight. I got Joaquin Silva, more explosive guy. I think he finds a way to win this fight by a knockout, and I do think it's in that second round. Let's keep on moving, though. Nick Negaramu versus Aleksei Kamur. I'm not super impressed by either guy. Like, I'll just straight up say it. Kamur, more technical kickboxing. He lost to William Knight in that last one. Knight clearly stronger, had the power to make Kamur very cautious. You look, though, I mean, he's decent from range, and he does have some solid straight punches. Nick Negaramu, decent striker with a very square stance, extremely square stance, honestly. Not saying that it's terrible to have a square stance, but more hittable with straight punches, the more square that you go. Pressure forward style and likes the looping hooks. I'm just not super impressed by Nick Negaramu. His record is pretty much all against bums. Look at that. Before he got into the UFC, he fought a 10-13 guy, 2-15 guy, 7-5, 12-41. He's not beating anybody good. On the other side, it's not like Kamur is a world beater, but he definitely is a better fighter. He's a young prospect, as really both guys are. Slight reach advantage for Kamur. I think he's the better boxer. I think Aleksei Kamur by a decision win potentially here, or even a knockout. Realistically speaking, honestly, Kamur is just not the most dynamite puncher. He does have a knockout win against Fabio Cherant with the flying knee. And he does have some KOs on that regional scene, but granted, different level here. I think Kamur for a decision win in this matchup over Nick Negaramu. That's the prediction for this matchup. Let's check out what the odds are looking at officially. About minus 250 to plus 210. I don't love a bet with Kamur, but I do think he should win. It's not that Kamur is this excellent fighter. It's just that I think Nick Negaramu is just not very good, and Aleksei Kamur should really put on a fairly dominant decision. I think it's going to be more of like one of those technical striking displays. Don't necessarily think we're looking at a war here. Might not be a great fight either, but Aleksei Kamur should win in this matchup in our third fight of the night, and we keep it moving. And now we have a matchup that I think we can all get pretty excited for, even though, I mean, neither girl really has the name value just yet, but flyweight division needs prospects. They need future contenders. You saw Manon Fiorot. She's on the rise now. You have Casey O'Neill versus Laura Procopio. So this matchup here is one that I'm actually really pumped for. On the side of Casey O'Neill, you have a girl who is an aggressive fighter, most definitely, with decent striking, but she likes to look to get inside, get the fight to the ground, and when she does get on top, she could potentially get submissions, soften you up with ground and pound. But Laura Procopio is no easy fight. She is an aggressive striker with a very boxing-heavy style of striking attack. She'll look to get inside as well, look for the takedown. She does have some decent takedowns and also some decent trips. For me, Laura Procopio is the better fighter of the two. She's fought the better girl. She's succeeded. I mean, split decision loss here against Carl Rosa, who's a fun prospect as well. Laura Procopio is going to give Casey O'Neill her first loss. I do think it's going to be clinch heavy, grappling heavy, might be striking though, because the ground might cancel out on both sides. And in that case, Laura Procopio, to me, clearly the better boxer, the better striker. I think that she wins this fight. She's more aggressive. She's going to get inside, land hooks. I just think that Laura Procopio has more dynamic striking skills, and that's what will lead her to victory. So for me, Laura Procopio, she'll get the win, and I do think she does it on a decision victory. On the other side at Casey O'Neill would be the first loss for the young Scottish prospect. But at the end of the day, the fight game, very few go out undefeated throughout the game. The losses are not necessarily a terrible thing. Minus 145, plus 125. Odds around that make sense. I like Procopio. It's women's MMA, though, and it's the craziest division in women's flyweight. If you're looking to bet it intelligently. To be 100% honest with you guys, you got to bet it very intelligently. Okay, this matchup is fun. You have the rangy striker, Julian Juicy J. Erosa. I mean, honestly, Sean Woodson and him were competitive on the feet, for sure. And Sean Woodson has some nice boxing, but not really a ton of dynamite power in the hands. Erosa, though, also has the submission skills, ultimate fighter veteran. I mean, this guy has been around for a long time. I like what I see from Julian Erosa every time. I liked him even on The Ultimate Fighter after he lost to Artem Lobov. Remember, Artem Lobov knocked out Julian Erosa. He's lost to the GOAT. On the other side, Sung Woo Choi. With Choi, you look at that fight against Yusuf Zalal, controlled him with pressure moving forward with the striking, doesn't really overextend himself, which is a very good quality to have, stays pretty tight. I mean, his losses in the UFC are to Movsar Evloev and Gavin Tucker. Hot prospects, not necessarily bad losses, and especially stylistically. I mean, Gavin Tucker, tough grappling game. Evloev just extremely well-rounded. He beat Zalal in the last fight. On the other side, you got Julian Erosa, who's just on an absolute tear as of late and has looked better and better each time. Striking-wise, I think competitive. I think Sung Woo Choi is a fun guy to watch and a prospect. Definitely doesn't have that same high-level experience. Julian Erosa being in his absolute prime now. Knockout win over Nate Landwehr. Big win over Sean Woodson. At the plus money, it's very hard not to pick Julian Erosa, and I do think he finds a way to win in this fight against Sung Woo Choi. I am going to ride Erosa here, the dog. I do think he comes through and gets a victory. I do think it's probably a competitive fight, and I could see him potentially grabbing a submission late, but realistically, I think we're looking at 3 rounds. I'll go split decision Erosa, but when you're picking a split decision, that's danger. So bet intelligently on this fight. Julian Erosa should be a fun dog that could really come through here, but Sung Woo Choi is no easy prospect to deal with. But I just feel like Erosa has more ways to win, because if they do go to the ground, I think Erosa could potentially tap him out as well, even though it's very unlikely that he does. So I think the wrestling game of Sung Woo Choi, and I don't think Julian Erosa has the offensive wrestling attack really to get Choi to the ground and start dominating from top position to set up submission. So for me, I think we're looking at competitive 3 rounds, technical fight. Erosa is not going to sit back like a Yusuf Zalal and just let you pick him apart. He's going to continue to move forward and scrap. He's got a ton of heart. Bet in this game for a very long time. Ultimate Fighter veteran, long-time UFC veteran. Julian Juicy J. Erosa, as the underdog, is going to beat the South Korean prospect Sung Woo Choi. I am riding Erosa here. Odds pretty much pick'ems here. Erosa around the plus 120. I think Erosa's a fun dog to play. So if you are looking to play dogs, you can sprinkle something down on Juicy J, Julian Erosa on that matchup there. And now we're working our way up to the heavyweights, the fat heavyweights. We got 2 heavy set savages here with Roque Martinez and Josh Parisian. Parisian, definitely striking-wise, more technical. I feel like he has better combination punching. Granted, that fight against Parker Porter was a terrible, terrible performance. I mean, it was sad to see him lose to Parker Porter. I thought that he would be able to win that fight. He doesn't. Could be a problem in the clinch with Roque Martinez. Martinez not necessarily a world beater on the ground, lost to Romanov and lost to Dontel Mays, but does have some wins over in Ryzen against decent competition, fought against Mirko Krokop. He just had such a disadvantage with the size. That's the main concern, but I do want to check something. With Parker Porter and him, I want to see the height difference. Parker Porter was 6 foot. Okay, I was curious. The height difference, the weight difference was similar. Parker Porter physically was stronger than Josh Parisian, was able to get on top in that fight. Roque Martinez, is he going to do the same thing? I think he's more down to stand and trade. We've seen that from Roque. He definitely has a good chin. Josh Parisian cannot go out here expecting to get a knockout win. Roque Martinez is not an easy guy to put away. It's heavyweight MMA, and heavyweight MMA truly is crazy. I feel like Josh Parisian is just destined to get a UFC win at this point, but just bad luck on his side. I mean, loses to Parker Porter. You know, he obviously fought in the Contender Series. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. This matchup, another one, very hard to predict the outcome, at least for me. I think Parisian from range does have a clear advantage and a path to victory. I don't think Roque Martinez is nearly active enough. I'll pick Josh Parisian on a competitive decision, but an absolute who the hell really knows type of fight until that cage door closes. Both not really UFC caliber skill sets. To just be real, they're not UFC caliber, but tough guys, fun heavyweights. I think they would be better suited for like a Bellator or PFL, but I do think Josh Parisian slightly edges him out on the scorecards by a decision, probably 29-28, and I think he's more active than Roque Martinez, and that's what leads him to victory. And he's a very slight favorite. The odds may shift. Granted, it's not like a ton of people are going to be excited to bet down on Roque Martinez, but let's check this out real quick. Roque Martinez and him. Where are the odds, man? We're losing the odds. Okay, minus 125, plus 105. For me, I'm liking the very slight favorite Parisian, but as betting odds would go, I'll lean you towards skipping this fight. The betting analyst in me says definitely not high on this matchup at all to play with money. Don't do that. At least I'm not. But if you have interest in doing it, you can throw down on Parisian. You can throw down the dog. There's probably arguments for both sides, but Parisian really should get the win. Next fight, Werner Jandiroba versus Kanako Murata. Let me get a sip of this real quick. Battle of grapplers in this matchup. Jandiroba, more the Brazilian jiu-jitsu grappler. On the other side, Kanako Murata, very strong wrestling game. Honestly, I think that Murata's throws are also effective physically. She could have a strength edge in this matchup against Jandiroba. But it's not like Jandiroba is an easy fight. You look at the wins, beat Mallory Martin by submission, beat Felice Herring by submission, lost to Mackenzie Dern in that last fight by a decision. And this fight here, I mean, Kanako Murata just one loss as a professional on a tear throughout her Ryzen career. This matchup for me, I got to be honest with you guys, I feel like is another one. Maybe skip the bet here. I don't see Werner Jandiroba getting a submission win. I don't really see Werner Jandiroba having this physical strength to control Kanako Murata. The way Werner Jandiroba finds a way to get dominant position here would be, in my opinion, if Murata gets her against the cage, gets her to the ground, and then she somehow sweeps and slips to the back, which is not going to be easy to do against a girl with a very good top game with Murata. For me in this matchup, I'm going to go Murata on a decision here. I do think she slightly edges out Werner Jandiroba. It's more of a dog or pass fight, truly. If you're looking to throw money down, you got a girl over the age of 32, pushing 33. Werner Jandiroba, fun fighter, good fighter. But on the other side, Kanako Murata has that prospect tag for sure, is trying to make her way as a contender. She's only 27, so now is really her time here. And I do think she will find a way to beat Werner Jandiroba. And I think it's going to be a grappling heavy attack, probably a lot of cage control. I don't even know if she's going to land many takedowns here, but I do think that it will still be her pressuring forward. Striking wise, neither are world-class strikers. I'm going to go Murata to win this fight. I'm going with the younger girl, the prospect, and in my opinion, the better offensive wrestler and also better in the clinch, physically stronger. Kanako Murata beats the jiu-jitsu practitioner, Werner Jandiroba. And I believe that was the featured prelim bout of the night. Now we move to the main card. Guys, if you have not yet, make sure you smash that like button. Goal on this video, 100 likes. We need those big likes for this video. We got to keep that algorithm pumping. So smash the like button if you have not yet. I'll quickly check up on that live chat and see what's going on in here. Lock of the card, we'll talk about it at the end, bro. I'll give you a lock of the card. Some of you guys like Chaos Williams. Some of you guys like some names at the top. Yeah, we'll talk about those fights soon. You like Martinez, speed advantage makes me think the same as a Collier fight. Yeah, the main thing for me is simply Collier also had that reach advantage, though. That's the big disadvantage. I mean, granted, Collier lost the decision, but yeah, it was a competitive fight. Topology is the best MMA site, hands down. Party time, baby. There's definitely some matchups that you're probably not going to want to play here. So, guys, smash the like button. As I said, goal, 100 likes. New to the channel, subscribe here, too. And let's talk about the main card. And this is a fun main card. It's actually starting it off with some fuego. I'm actually really pumped for this first fight. It's Tim the Dirty Bird Means versus Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. On the side of Danny Roberts, you have a southpaw, definitely an athletic kickboxer. The man has some fast hands and some serious knockout power. Ground game has improved. The other side, Tim Means, more of a well-rounded fighter and a longtime veteran of the game at this point. His style is more volume punching, not necessarily a one-punch knockout artist. He pops you with shots. He keeps the hands close, and he'll just walk you down slowly but surely. And he does have a more well-rounded skill set. Granted, 37 years old also. He's also a southpaw. Southpaw versus southpaw fight here. Tim Means can take a punch, and Hot Chocolate Roberts needs the knockout. He's not going to knock out Tim Means. I think it's extremely unlikely that he does such. For me, Tim Means is going to find a way to win this fight against Danny Roberts. You look at the way Roberts has lost in the past. You've seen him submitted before. You've seen him knocked out before. Tim Means, a guy that beats guys by decision normally. For me, Tim Means is a pretty clear-cut favorite. Obviously, lines at minus 200. For me, I'm going Tim Means. That's the pick here. Decision win. He should be able to beat Danny Roberts. I think this is a bit of a step down. Danny Roberts always will have the one-punch knockout threat, but I think Tim Means is not old enough to lose to a guy like Danny Roberts. Maybe 2 years from now, this would be a different result. But right now, I am going with the minus 200 favorite, Tim Means. Odds-wise, plus 170 dog. Is there value on the dog? By knockout, maybe. We'll see when the knockout prop drops. Right now, Roberts inside the distance is plus 390. So obviously the knockout prop is going to be around plus 450. I don't think he knocks out Tim Means. Fight goes the distance, minus 165. It's expected to go the distance here. Means by a decision, plus 130 is a prop that I like in this matchup that's already released. But other than that, Tim Means, potential parlay addition, potential straight play. We're riding with the Dirty Bird. Tim Means by a decision here. Let's keep it moving, and let's move on up to, in my opinion, one of the most exciting fights on this card, period. You have Chito Vera versus Davy Grant 2. This is a rematch. These guys fought before years back now. When was it? Let's check when it was, because I'm curious, because Davy Grant has taken long layoffs. He fought him in 2016, so about 5 years ago they fought. Davy Grant had some setbacks, some injuries and whatnot, kept him out of the cage, unfortunately. But that first fight, he was able to push Chito Vera, push the pace on him, outstrike him a bit on the feet. Physically had a bit of a strength edge back then. Granted, this is a very different Chito Vera. That is a Chito Vera who was just about 23 years of age. This is Man Vera, and Davy Grant's an older guy now. Davy Grant, though, still big win in the last fight by a knockout. The name is escaping me. Who was it? Yeah, Jonathan Martinez. He slept badly. Vera loses to Aldo in a very competitive fight. I'm going to be honest with you. Vera, his striking is dynamic, nasty low kicks. The skill set is very vast on the feet for Vera, but he also can grapple. Also, southpaw versus orthodox matchup. We saw it in the first fight. Vera was just too young. This was just a hard matchup early on in his career. Now, more dynamic striker. Davy Grant, though, is a dangerous striker, too, and has power in the hands. But for me, Marlon Chito Vera is going to chop at the legs. He's going to work combination punching. He's going to find a way inside to land probably some nasty power shots as well. Chito Vera is one of the fan favorite guys on the roster. He was outstriking Aldo up until, Aldo ended up getting the back of that fight. He's going to beat the 35-year-old Davy Grant here. I do think it's possible he gets a TKO in this matchup. But it's not like Davy Grant is a guy that goes down easy. I think most of his losses are by submission. I believe all of his losses are by submission. At least all of his UFC losses are submission losses. Chito Vera, not really the guy that's necessarily a submission ace, but it's not like he doesn't have submission wins. He's won by submission in the past. Still, I think it's striking. I think the way he would get a submission is if he hurts Davy Grant on the feet. I feel like Chito Vera has a dynamic and dominant unanimous decision performance where he just puts it on Davy Grant for 3 rounds. I think Marlon Chito Vera for the win here should be a pretty confident play. I'm confident in him. He wants to avenge that loss. I think Marlon Chito Vera, skill set wise, is a top contender in the world. I'm very excited to see this matchup. Kind of like a sad step down in competition for him as far as the recent matchups. But when you know the history, this is an avenge. This is him avenging the defeat from many years ago when he was just a young 23-year-old fighter and Davy Grant beat him. Marlon Vera is going to win this fight, and he's going to do it dominantly for 3 rounds. He beats Davy Grant, and I think he moves on as a contender. Who knows what the future holds for Vera, but I think he's an absolute dynamite contender at 135 and one of my favorite fighters on the roster to watch at this point. Wellington Turman versus Bruno Silva. This right here is an interesting fight. If you don't know Bruno Silva, you should. He's on a nice 4-fight win streak. Not in the UFC, and granted, this is the other Bruno Silva. This is not the little Bruno Silva who we saw win just a couple weeks back by knockout. You look at Bruno, he's a pretty good striker. He's beaten Alexander Shlemenko in M1 in Russia. I mean, this guy is nasty with his Thai boxing. He's good in the clinch. He has dynamite combinations, and he goes for the knockout when he has the chance. For me, on the other side, Turman, he's a sloppy striker. He's not terrible on the feet, but bit too square, bit too hittable down in range. And, I mean, the way he pressures forward, I think this is going to be bad in this matchup because if he comes in too close on Bruno Silva, he's getting put down here. He's only 24 as Wellington Turman. Bruno Silva, 31. Not a huge experience disadvantage, though. I mean, Wellington Turman, for a 24-year-old, has a good amount of fights. Knocked out in the last fight. I think Bruno Silva is a nightmare of a matchup for him here. Granted, unproven at the highest level. I'm high on the guy. I think he's a fun prospect. We need middleweight prospects, and I think Bruno Silva is an absolute stud and a very good one. He's done well in M1. I watched his fights in M1. I like what I saw. Well-rounded skill set. He's going to knock out Wellington Turman, and I do think he'll do it in the first round. He's going to put it on him. He's going to come out aggressive, and he's going to win his UFC debut in emphatic fashion. We're going Bruno Silva, the slight favorite in this matchup. The official odds, because we got to get the official odds, not what Tapology has listed and unupdated for us. Minus 145, plus 125, so Tapology was right there. I like those odds. I think that Bruno Silva inside the distance. Let's check out what the value's at for Bruno Silva inside the distance. Silva, inside distance, plus 135. If you can bet Silva by a KO, TKO, I think that has value as well. He is a finisher, and I think he finishes Wellington Turman here in his UFC debut. Fun guy to keep an eye on. Definitely do. Featured bout of the night, Diego Lima, Matt Brown. I'm so happy to see this matchup. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's going to be entertainment. Diego Lima, very good Thai style of striking, improved wrestling defense. You see that loss to Bilal Muhammad. I mean, he had moments with the striking for sure. It's just the pressure of Muhammad was too much because the wrestling attack. Lima, always, him and his brother both struggle against really good wrestlers. You saw, Yaroslav Amosov dominate him. On the other side, Matt Brown, ton of heart, scrappy inside. The guy can strike his ass off, truly. But he's 40 years old. And Matt Brown, a well-rounded guy for sure. But Diego Lima, the younger guy, the faster guy, I also think right now he's just clearly the better guy. So for me, Diego Lima, I see outstriking him from range. Matt Brown potentially hurting Lima at one point of the fight, though, for sure. I am going to ride with Diego Lima. He wins this fight, and I do think it's going to be a decision, and I think there's moments for Matt Brown for sure in this fight. But Diego Lima should definitely get the win. I am going to ride with him to win this fight. We are riding with Diego Lima by a decision. As far as the bets, is it worth throwing money down on Diego Lima? I'm not saying he's a chinny fighter, but he has been a bit chinny in the past, and we have seen him in a bit of trouble in the past in certain matchups. But here, I don't think he's going to be in too much trouble. Minus 170 favorite, plus 150 dog. I don't love the minus 170 tag on Diego Lima. I think fight goes the distance is very possible here. The over 2.5 minus 175. When the fight goes the distance play prop drops, let's check it out and we'll see what the value is. We'll talk about it in the best bets video. We are doing a best bets video this week. Should have it up maybe tomorrow or the next day. I know I got PFL predictions also coming out too, guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But we're riding with Diego Lima here by a decision win. That should be a good way to call it there. I do think he picks him apart from the outside. Moving on up, though, co-main event of the evening. We're at it. Olenik versus Sergey Spivak. Spivak's got a pretty nasty striking game, to be 100% honest with you, but he also has a good ground game, too. Physically, I think he has the strength edge at this point over the old Olenik. He's a taller guy by an inch, but does have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Olenik, one of the most dangerous submission artists inside of the game. Here's the thing with Sergey Spivak. Yes, he does have good grappling. Yes, he is physically strong. Not a dynamite puncher. And Olenik, to keep him off you, you got to hurt him. You got to hit him hard. He's gotten wins by submission against pretty much everybody he fights. I mean, the guy's a submission savage. You look at the fight, I mean, Carlos Felipe went the distance with him. He beat up Jared Vanderaa good, but the wrestling threat was an advantage there. He beat Tai Tuivasa by a submission. Walt Harris, he got knocked out by. This matchup right here is interesting. Striking-wise, definitely Sergey Spivak is the better striker. And I feel like he can defend the takedowns. But can Olenik somehow find a way to sink in an Ezekiel choke? Something insane? He definitely can. So here's my thoughts on this matchup. I do think Spivak wins a decision. He should win a decision. He might even get a TKO if he lets the hands fly, because Olenik is one of the worst strikers probably in MMA. He throws that weird looping hook shot. He's just doing it to get inside. There's no thought of striking. Olenik is a pure grappler and on the feet. Just doesn't have a great skill set. But truly, I think Sergey Spivak really should win by a decision. But there's still value in an Olenik submission, especially if the plus money's looking good. We'll see what some of the props are opening up at right now. Spivak wins inside the distance, minus 145. Olenik wins inside the distance, plus 230. Let's say the submission prop is plus 500, even plus 400 or more. I think it's worth a sprinkle to 4 times your money. Put $20 down, and you can make, $80 back at you. I think Olenik always has a chance to win by submission, especially against a guy that doesn't have dynamic power at all. He's the decent striker, but his finishes are going to be more ground and pound. He's more of a guy that's going to sync up submissions. Sergey Spivak should really win this fight. He's the better fighter. He's the younger fighter, and I think he gets a decision win here. More dynamic with the striking, and I do think he can fend off the takedowns. But just to save yourself on the backside, maybe sprinkle down Olenik by a submission. But he's old now. Olenik's old as they come in MMA. 43, about to be 44. When this fight actually starts, he'll be 44. So when this fight happens, he will be 44. Or is that, no, age at fight. Okay, 43. So he's about 44 years of age. He's days away from it. He's a 44-year-old man versus a 26-year-old prospect. I don't see Olenik winning, but if he does, it'll be a submission. So maybe sprinkle down the submission play there. But we're going Sergey Spivak, the more dynamic striker, and definitely the more youthful, faster, clearly younger fighter. I mean, granted, obviously you can tell with the age, but even how they fight. Now, main event of the evening, Chan Sung Jung versus the Korean Zombie. Guys, make sure you smash that like button if you have not already. I appreciate everybody tuning in. This is going to be very fun. This is going to be very fun. I am a personal fan of both guys. I have been a Korean Zombie fan probably since the WEC Leonard Garcia chaos. I think that might have been the first fight I saw of him, and that was just absolute insanity. And it's like, who is this man? On the other side, you have Dan 50K Ige. Well, he won, but he really lost against Barboza. Whatever, the decision went his way. Calvin Kattar was able to outmatch him with the striking. But Calvin Kattar's boxing is extremely good, and he also has a speed edge. Chan Sung Jung is a good striker, and he's a power striker, but you look at his style, more plodding heavy, will throw combinations coming inside, but not the same efficient movement as like a Calvin Kattar. Dan 50K Ige is the faster guy of the two. He's the younger guy of the two at 29. Chan Sung Jung coming off the bad loss against Brian Ortega. Granted, Ortega looked fantastic, taking nothing away from Ortega. That was Ortega all day. It's not that Jung is old. Stylistically, though, Dan Ige's the better boxer. He's the faster boxer. Good combination punches. Mean left hook. He can hurt you bad with the left hook. Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, I love you, man. And I really think that he is going to deliver a great fight. But Dan Ige right now is the prospect, is the contender, I think, to keep an eye on. He is the guy on the rise. I think Jung is on the way down. I am going to ride with Dan Ige to win this fight. I think he does it truly by a decision. It's not like anybody's finishing Zombie. I mean, granted, yeah, Yair hit him with an elbow, but that was just craziness. And then he took a beating against Brian Ortega. And I think Ige is going to be ready for the 5 rounds, especially this time. He knows this is his opportunity. He lost to Cater, and now he gets another huge name. If Ige wins, he really emerges as a contender. He's a guy I'm a fan of and a fun guy to watch, as is Jung. I think we're in store for an excellent main event. This is going to be a sweet main event. I'm telling you guys, you're going to see some amazing striking exchanges. The chin of Ige is good. Going to hold up. I don't think Jung can finish him, and I feel like Jung needs the finish. Jung usually gets the knockouts. You know, you look at his wins, they're KO wins. Look at his last 3 wins, all KO wins. You look at his losses, Ortega, that was a decision loss. Granted, he was beating Yair up until the elbow. He got knocked out. I don't see him getting really knocked out here against Ige because Ige's not going to be throwing some spinning upward elbow that he doesn't see coming. Ige, though, will touch the chin. We'll make him feel the power. We'll mix in the combination punches. For me, I am going to ride with Dan Ige. I see him winning this fight by a decision, and I think we're in store for an excellent back-and-forth main event. Odds around -110. It's a pick'ems fight. If you want to bet it, I'd bet Ige. As far as the props, over 4.5, -130. Fight goes decision, -125. Dan Ige by a decision, +240. Not terrible value on that one. I think that Dan Ige is going to win this fight by a decision, guys. I think he's the better combination puncher. He's clearly faster, and he's going to beat the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung, and this is a signature win for Ige. Overall, we have a pretty interesting card. Looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Some interesting fights on the undercard, some underwhelming matchups. Like, I'll be real with you, I'm not super excited for Negaramu Camure. I'm not super excited for the Parisian Roque Martinez fight. And I think that every other fight on the card, though, is actually pretty good, especially this main card. You get to see Bruno Silva, who's on the rise. Diego Lima gets a big opportunity against Matt Brown. Spivak, Olenik is a fun fight. Chan Sung Jung, Marlon Vera's on the card. The main card is sweet. The undercard's all right. Overall, solid card. If I had to give it a score for a free TV card, doesn't have a packed name value, but I think it's got potential for high level matchups. It's like a B- card for sure. It's a solid B- card, a very solid one, maybe even a B, but we'll call it a B-. We'll talk about some parlays, but this is not the full betting breakdown that we'll be going over in the next day or so, which is going to go way deeper. But I want to give you guys a couple of parlays. I'm going to tell you this is a very dangerous card to bet on. There's a lot of competitive matchups, and odds wise, some things that could potentially be flipped the other way. Oh yeah, this fight was what I was really looking forward to. Ulanbekov and Nam, but canceled. Very unfortunate that we lost that, but it is what it is. We move forward from here. If I have to give you guys some potential bets to play, something that I feel really should come through, and I think I'm just gonna go with Bruno Silva and Tim Means, man. The parlays on this card, guys, I'm gonna tell you straight up. The parlays on this card are danger zone. There are matchups that are all extremely competitive. Who's the biggest favorite on the card? Aleska Camura, -250, is looking like the biggest favorite on the entire thing. Is there anything bigger than a -250? It's a competitive card, guys. A lot of competitive matchups. Bruno Silva, Tim Means, +153. I think there's some value there. If you want to add in somebody else, who could you potentially bring in to give you that true confidence, though, because I don't want to stir you guys wrong. It's women's MMA, but Laura Procopio might be the next pick, +328. Guys, I will tell you this. I think for this card, at maximum 4-fighter parlay, I'd recommend 2-fighter parlay, and I'd recommend straight bets and maybe some props because it's danger zone with this card here because there's so many competitive fights. Maybe you want to play Joaquin Silva. So this right here is a solid 4-fighter parlay. Tim Means, Bruno Silva, Laura Procopio, Joaquin Silva, but we're going to take out Procopio because I know women's MMA, especially that weight class, is absolute insanity. It can go either way. Do I want to put Marlon Chito Vera down? Well, at the -235 price tag, he lost to this man in the past. It's not the best value, +575 if you do such. If you add in Dan Ige, though, that's where the real money comes in, +805. Realistically speaking, though, you would be taking a risk. Maybe you skip out on Joaquin Silva. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It depends really who you're liking. We'll go over in the best bets video, like my top parlays. But this is just right now looking what's in front of me throwing some ideas out at you guys. Tim Means, Bruno Silva, Dan Ige, plus 384. I do think high likelihood of this cashing, but Chan Sung Jung is no easy fight. Sergey Spivak, that'd bring you to plus 266. Let's see if there's anyone else that I even feel like I'd want to bet on. If you need a dog to play, maybe you bet Juicy J, plus 458 for these three, but at that point, you might as well just bet the dog straight. Overall, guys, this is a scary card to go crazy with the parlays, but I do think it's a card which we are in store for a ton of action. I appreciate everybody for tuning in live. Guys, smash that like button. Let me check up on this live chat. Watch interview, Selmsberger. Yeah, I'm picking Selmsberger to win as well. I think he wins it. It's very risky, though, betting-wise. Some of you guys like Choi. I understand that 100%. That Calderwood decision pissed you off the other day? Dude, it is what it is, man. We move forward, man. Sometimes the decisions don't go our way. It just is what it is. You guys know how it goes. Yeah, there's definitely some dogs, though, on this card. Definitely some dogs. Overall, though, we got some interesting matchups. I am super pumped. Appreciate the kind words from everybody in the live chat. Shout out everybody watching live. Shout out everybody watching on the replay. You guys are fantastic. I really appreciate everybody for showing the love. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Smash that like button. Let's get 100 likes on this video. Let's get that algorithm pumping, guys. I appreciate you all so much. Honestly, I do want to speak of one thing. I'm actually more excited for the Apex than the fans. How bad were those Arizona fans? They're literally booing as soon as the fight hits the ground. That was like, what is going on here? What are these fans like? Come on, fans. Come on, Arizona fans. Step it up, guys. Come on. But overall, this should be a good card. We're back at the Apex. We're going to be focused in on the event. We don't have to worry about some bad booing fans. Shout out everybody watching live. Shout out everybody watching replay. Smash that like button. 100 likes on this video. I appreciate all of you. I'll be back with best bets this week, and I'll also be back with the PFL predictions. Thank you all so much, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.